Hi, and welcome one more time to ToddHaroldMusic.com. I'm Todd Harold. We're doing part two of addressing the fundamentals. We talked a little bit about addressing your hands, the fundamental stuff that you need for your hands. Now we'll talk a little bit about your feet. Now there are lots and lots of ways to work your feet, but a good way I've found to work your feet is, and there are things to think about, but a good way to check this out is there's this great book called Syncopation. This is actually page 37, and there's a class at Syncopation, the book by Ted Reed. It's been out for many, many years, and there's actually a class at Berklee College of Music that I think is just about this page, from what I've heard, just about this page. And the great teacher Alan Dawson, I understand, had like 300 ways or something like that of interpreting just this page. You know, the bottom line was the ride cymbal, and the top line was the snare drum, and he applied it to swing, and he applied it to Latin. Well, I found an interesting way of doing that that applies to the feet. So if we look at the first line, what we have is 1 and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3. Now, how does this apply to the feet? You'll see that the bottom line, if you look at syncopation, the bottom line is just quarter notes. So you keep the quarter notes on your hi-hat, and you play the melodic line, quote unquote, the top line, with your right foot on the bass drum. Therefore, you've got your both feet going, and it's the introduction to four-way coordination. Because once you have both feet going, then you can apply all this over here. You can play around with your hands and so on like that. So let's talk about, we talked about how you hold your sticks. Let's talk about how you hold your feet, so to speak. So I like to think of it like this. You see a lot of people, they play heel down. Heel down to me doesn't give you enough, just straight up heel down, doesn't give you enough volume on your bass drum sometimes in more volume-oriented music. That's an opinion, you know, opinions differ. But it also doesn't do much for your balance, and you need lots of balance. You don't want to be doing this kind of thing. You need lots of balance when you're playing drum set, especially when you're playing with both feet on the pedals. So what I think is if you come up like that, if you're looking at it like that, if your foot comes up like that, what you're doing is this being the ball of your foot here. You're tensing up all the muscles in your calf, all the way up into your butt area. You're tensing all that up. Now that, once again, is like playing with your arm. You're slowing everything down. You're not going to be able to get the agility and the speed and the fluidity that you're really looking for. So the idea is you keep the ball of your foot like it's super glued to the bass drum pedal, and then you sort of let the heel area sort of bounce off that bass drum pedal, just sort of bounce off of it, and that way you're not tensing up your body. Now let's review one more time what we were talking about. If we're just going to look at, I like the first four lines. We'll just click out the first line, and then I'll play the first four lines for you a few times. Once again, this is Syncopation by Ted Reed, page 37, which I think in the newer editions is page 38. I think they added something in there, but you'll be able to find it. But here's your rhythm right at the top. It says Syncopation Exercise 1 at the top of the page. Very famous book. So here's our rhythm one more time. 1 and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3. Now let's apply that to the drum set, and we'll just keep going. We're going to set our metronome at 100, which is a good balanced speed. If you take it too slow, you'll find that you can't really achieve balance because it's just too slow, and your muscles don't want to do that. But at a certain speed, let's say 90 or 100, I usually start at 100 with students, you can really get that going. We'll start the metronome at 100. Give you some quarters on the hi-hat to get us going. Now, I would recommend taking this up in groups of 10. So go 100, 110, 120, 130. We're going to take it up to 140 in the interest of brevity. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you're hearing this, you're not balanced. That should not happen. It should be nice and solid. None of that. It means you're not balanced. Hopefully this gives you a better idea of how you can really get the feet going and get that under control. Now, you can take this. I've had students that can take this up to 260. Now, here's the thing. You can do this from here. But if you don't come and get lessons from me, go and get lessons from somebody. Because the idea is it's really hard to know whether you're doing this correctly without some sort of one-on-one thing happening. It's like the analogy that someone told me once. They said, I've had several people tell me, YouTube is my teacher. Well, I don't know about that, because there's just so many things that you could be doing wrong that you wouldn't even know about. You could develop all sorts of bad habits, whereas that can be taken care of in an instant, and you can really get steered in a better course with a good teacher. So if it's not me, make sure it's somebody. But the analogy that I made one time to somebody who said, I just watch YouTube videos. And I said, well, I watch the Cubs every day. Does that mean I should be playing left field for them? And of course not, So you need a little one-on-one kind of thing with somebody. I suggest, I've had a number of great teachers, and that's one of the highlights of my life is both the learning, continues to be the learning and the teaching, passing it on. And there's so much great music, there's so much great ideas on drums, so many great ideas on drums, that I hope that you really dig in and check it out. But you've got your hands ready, you got your feet ready. I look forward to hearing from you if you want a lesson, and talk to you soon. I'm Todd Harrell.